Hi, everybody. David Noor. Want to welcome you to episode, I think this is episode 3 of the Inner Circle live stream podcast. I'm delighted you're here. If you're new to this, we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, X, on both my channels, but also the Avneer, official Avneer channels. I would encourage you to jump in. I'm going to pause periodically for comments. You can jump in with your comments as we go through. I'm also going to share tools, resources that I would highly encourage you to come check out and benefit from as we go through this episode. As a reminder, Forum, Forum, forum.avneer.com is our private online community. I'm going to put that up in a comment for you as well. And that is, I'm there every day. We share tidbits. There's a Inner Circle group on the left-hand side where any resources, bios of executives, any tools that we build, so unique content resources, and even events we'll share in there. So forum.avneer.com is where I would encourage you to come join us as we share some of those. This is a live stream every Tuesday at noon Eastern. We also repurpose it as a podcast, and we'll post it up on wherever you consume podcasts. So hope you'll jump in and join us there. We're also avneer.com/podcast is another place where you'll be able to find and come and listen to any past episodes, or if you got nuggets in the discussions. And I'll put that in here as well for you, that you can come in and jump in with, again, comments, issues, or if you want to reference more of this. So just a quick recap. In episode 1, I defined an inner circle as a curated group of high-value relationships that do 4 things: inspire, challenge, elevate, and amplify your personal and professional growth through mutual trust, measurable collaboration, and shared success. If you haven't heard the description, I took that statement, broke it down, episode 1. Go back and listen to how I've defined inner circle, because I think it's really important to start with definition. Where are we going? What does this look like? What are we trying to do? And each of those attributes will continue to get you'll get drip or nurture updates on these. What does that really mean? And what does that look like? What does that mean to me? And whether it's this one, this podcast live stream, or anything else you consume, I would highly encourage you to remember and really try to implement what I call what, so what, now what. That's one of the Noorisms. What, so what, now what? What is this person saying? What am I reading? What am I listening to? So what does it mean? What does it mean to me given my current situation, given my aspirations, given my past experiences? And then now what? What do I do with it from here? How do I implement this? How do I put this idea to work to improve my work, my life, my condition? So what, so what, now what becomes a really useful in thinking through what is an inner circle? What does this concept mean to me? And how do I apply it? How do I actually put it to use to improve my work, my life, my condition? So episode 1, we defined it. Episode 2, I gave you 10 attributes. I gave you a very clear, succinct list of almost like a scorecard of what should you look for in building, in nurturing, in really elevating your own inner circle. What does that entail? And those 10 attributes should be, I'm a huge believer of, I put things up on my walls that I look at on a regular basis that reminds me of kind of where and how to invest in my relationships, how to prioritize my relationships, how to ensure I'm a relationship investor, not just a giver or worse yet, a taker. So in this episode, the goal is really thinking about 10 steps to creating. 10 steps. I like systems thinking. I like processes. I like a repeatable, predictable set of outcomes. That's exactly what we're trying to build in Avenir. So these are 10 steps to not just creating an inner circle, right? Let's just say one of your goals for this year is I want to build my inner circle. By the way, I have the background, the educational foundation. I have the professional pedigree, and I'm at a place in my work and life where I believe a curated group of, high valued relationships would be instrumental to my personal professional growth and success. So if I want to do this, where do I start? How do I create it? And it's not just creating it, right? You can reach out to a whole bunch of people and say, hey, I'm putting this inner circle together. Would you be interested? Once you create it, then what? How do you nurture it? How do you sustain it? How do you ensure that it delivers the outcomes you're after? And that's what this episode is about. So here we go. Number one in creating, nurturing, sustaining this inner circle is clarity of your purpose. You have to define your purpose. You have to understand. You have to be crystal clear in clarifying, why do you believe you need an inner circle? And what are the goals that are going to support it? What's the outcome that I'm after? Here's where I'm trying to get to. I've always believed in this journey from now to next. Today, here's where I am. In my world, we're getting Avenir off the ground. The old adage of, if you want to get somewhere fast, go alone, because you can run and you don't need anybody else. You want to go far, go with a team. This is not about that sprint, because that sprint you could probably do by yourself. This is about the marathon. This is about probably the Ironman marathon. And that's probably a really good way to think about it, is if you want to run the Ironman, if you want to climb Everest, if you want to do something that today in that journey from now to next seems not impossible because you've seen other people do it, improbable because maybe you haven't done it. If you want to get beyond your own perceived limitations, you got to start by clarifying, why do you need an inner circle to get there? And what are the goals? Anybody that, again, I think this will resonate with you. It could be overwhelming to look at Everest and say, there's no way I can do that, until I maybe meet or talk to someone who has done it and understand their training regimen, understand their nutrition. I understand that, other mountains they've climbed, and understand what, tour group or Sherpa they went with, and understand what were the biggest obstacles for them, and understand that I've got to get to base camp first before I can get to the top. But clarifying, defining your purpose is critical, and it identifies areas in your life or your career where, as I said, those trusted relationships can accelerate your growth. I've said this before, I'll say it again. Any goal, you throw enough time, effort, resources at it, you'll eventually get there, eventually make progress, eventually feel like you're better off. One of the most undervalued assets in our business relationships is that ability to compress that time, to accelerate. So identifying areas in my life or career or journey, in that journey from now to next, right? Dissecting, what is that journey going to really entail? Where do I need trusted relationships? You have to believe that these are people you don't have to try to impress. These are the people you can be vulnerable with. These are the people you can go to say, I'm struggling with this. Can you help me? I'm struggling with this. Can you give me a different lens or perspective? Those trusted relationships can accelerate your growth, accelerate your impact. If that journey is going to take you 3 to 5 years, could they help you get there in a year? And is that valuable? Again, in building and growing Avenir, here are the areas that I need help with. I don't want to build a solution looking for a problem. So I've got a revenue group of advisory board members. from operating, building, scaling a team. I've got operators that forget more in 5 minutes that I'm going to learn over the next year. So how can I leverage their expertise? And then, by the way, we're building a system of AI agents. So I better have some AI expertise. And AI didn't come around 5 minutes ago. It's been here a while. There's a lot of expertise in that arena, and it's accelerating. Those as advisory board members bolster you. They accelerate your growth. They are tailwind in your ability to get to the outcomes you're after. So number one, define your purpose, clarify your purpose, really that intentionality in why do I need an inner circle and the goals that will support it. Number two, you got to identify, and we talked about this earlier, that those attributes, the 10 attributes that I gave you last time, they're not, as you can imagine, all created equal. So I gave you a scorecard. I gave you those 10 attributes. What I really want you to think about is maybe prioritizing them or adding weights to them. That says, of all of those 10 attributes, which one do you value most? Maybe force rank them. Which ones in these members? So again, just as a reminder, I brought up demonstrated or equity or felt trust. I brought up supportive accountability. I brought up diverse perspectives, reciprocal respect, transparent authenticity. If you notice, none of these are about their core competency or area of expertise. I'm not talking about a CFO who knows the numbers really well. Those in many ways are table stakes. That credibility, that competence. What we're talking about here are values. Relationships go bad with misaligned expectations. So how do we recalibrate expectations early and often? How do we ensure that our values are aligned? The things that are really important to me: energy, hustle, focus, sense of urgency, do whatever it takes. Those values are critical. And if people that you seek aren't aligned with your values, you're going to struggle in finding the right people to join to really become a critical part of your inner circle. So identifying, prioritizing, adding weight to these attributes, trust, expertise, shared values are critical, and ensures that cognitive diversity, broad-based experiences, different lenses that we all need in that journey. In your journey from now to next, if you surround yourself with people who are as brilliant as you, what you're going to get is groupthink. If you surround yourself with people who think just like you do, you're going to go off a cliff because everybody thought, hey, that was a great idea. Versus people who question, challenge respectfully your assumptions, your assertions. People who ask questions you haven't even thought of. Those are my favorite people. Full disclosure. People who ask me questions that I have not thought of are the people that I'm just drawn to. Not just because of their intellectual horsepower, because of their lens. I've said this to several friends. I've been a consultant. I've been a coach. I've been an advisor. I've been an outsider for 2 decades. And I got to tell you, it's really easy to look at a scenario, quickly discern what you think the problem is, and tell the operator how to think, how to lead, how to behave, right? It is an entirely different thing to be in the arena, to be in the seat. So I have a whole new level of respect for operators. I'm in awe of friends and clients who are running multi-billion-dollar companies and how they do it on a consistent basis. So identifying those key attributes, ensuring that diversity of thought, that cognitive diversity, the experiences they bring, to all broaden my horizon, broaden my perspective. And that's what you need your inner circle to provide to accelerate your growth. Your personal and professional growth is predicated by people looking at the exact same scenario and saying, Noor, hold on a second. Have you thought about it this way? Have you looked at it this way? Have you considered these things? Have you asked these questions? That's how we all learn. That's how we grow. So I want you to assign, not just go back to episode 2 and listen to those attributes, but maybe prioritize those, maybe add weights to them of what's most important to you. And are you surrounding yourself with people who think and lead very differently than you do? If you just joined us, David Noor, Inner Circle podcast and live stream, this episode 3 is focused on 10 steps to creating, nurturing, and sustaining your inner circle. Number 1 was really define or further refine your purpose. Why do you believe you need an inner circle? And the goals that are going to support you there, areas of your life, your career, where trusted relationships can really accelerate your personal and professional growth. Number 2 was identify, if not wait, prioritize the key attributes. Last episode, I gave you 10 attributes. They're not all created equal. And what you value and what's more aligned with your values could be very different than mine. Number 3, audit your existing network, your existing portfolio of relationships. As you recall, and I'm having graphics made on this, the value pyramid that I've written extensively about in the Relationship Economics book is all about the depth and relevance of your relationships. It's all about how intentional are you in building and nurturing phenomenal relationships, because not all relationships are created equal. They're all at very different levels. And inner circles in many ways are to the right of the 2 a.m.s. So the value pyramid that again, I'll bring it up. I'll show you in a second of what I'm referring to. If you haven't, you can also search it and you can see it. And I talk a lot about the value pyramid, which all of your relationships fit within. It's not created equal. It is, here you go. It is based on depth and relevancy of those relationships. It's based on, right? If I share my screen, here you go. This is what I'm referring to. This is the relationship value pyramid. I built this, the first version of this, back in 2006, 2008, almost 20 years ago. And what I refer to is, again, the very base foundation of everybody you know, we call situation. They come, they go. Next group, investment. You've invested time, effort, resource getting to know them. Next group, portfolio. They're your subject matter experts. They're your go-to people. The very pinnacle of everybody you know, we call your 2 a.m.s. These are relationships you could call first thing in the morning, 2 in the morning, and their first question is, are you okay? What I want you to do is, and the graphic I'm having made is, go to the right of the 2 a.m.s, and there you'll find your inner circle. So if this is a very, in essence, cream of the crop, if this is the epicenter, if this is the pinnacle of your most valuable, your most prized relationships, auditing your existing network, assessing your current relationships to identify potential members is a very logical next step. So if you think about which connections are worth deepening, which connections are going to be fuel to this growth journey, and candidly, which ones are not going to align. That person could be very competent, very capable in that part of what you're trying to do. But you know what? The last several times you've met, either they've got ego bigger than Texas, or they're so good at what they do, they don't feel like, or they need to listen to anybody else. That's not going to go well because your relationship values aren't aligned. So when I say audit your existing network, it's really about creating a short list. One of the things we've built into Avenir is your top 100. And it's always important in any platform to really think about why that functionality works or why that functionality is important. One of the myths or misperceptions from social media broadly, LinkedIn in particular, is it confuses quantity with quality. I've got 20,000 contacts on LinkedIn. I honestly couldn't tell you how I know half of them. And I think that's true for most of us. So in Avner, we focus a lot on tightening that aperture to who are your top 100, who are your top 10. Don't get caught up on 100, 10, 20, 30, 50 relationships that are you want to double down on. I can directly connect 90% of our success last year, our revenues, however you define success, right? Our success last year to about 10 relationships. It's a subset of everybody I know. And I'm trying to tell you, the inner circle is even a subset of that group, because beyond their competence, beyond their capability, beyond their reach, beyond their network, beyond these people, you have aligned values that are extremely relevant to your journey from now to next. There are people who are going to hold you to account. There are people who are going to raise the bar and kind of how you think and how you show up. And again, you don't have to try to impress them. You can say, John, I'm struggling with this. Beth, really need your help with that. Sam, I admire the way you do that. Could you please help me think through how to do the same? So our inner circle raises the bar and accelerates that. So when you audit your existing network, number 3, you're assessing of everybody in my value pyramid. Even so, everybody in my 2 a.m., who are the people that are most relevant to? They don't all have to come from 2 a.m. Let me just clarify that. But it's going to be very difficult to grab somebody from off the street and say, hey, could you contribute to my inner circle? And I'm being facetious, you know that, but I think a lot of people do that. They either cast a wide net or they try to reach out to people that don't know you, or you didn't come highly recommended. That's the other way of, and we'll talk about this, inner circle members could also be friends of friends. So if Randy's got a great relationship with Bill, Randy knows me. This is actually a true story. Randy knows what I need. Randy knows Bill. Bill trusts Randy. Randy says, hey, Noor could use your help. That's another way that someone could potentially be a viable fit for your inner circle. So we're talking about 10 steps to create, nurture, sustain your inner circle. 1 was define or refine your purpose. 2, really identify those key attributes. I gave you 10 of them last time. Maybe add weights to them, maybe prioritize them. 3, audit your existing portfolio of relationships, your existing network, your existing people you know, for really assessing the current relationships that could you identify as potential members. Which connection is really worth deepening? Which connection do you want to bring in closer? And candidly, which ones are not a good fit? And this is as much about that filtering. 4, reach out intentionally, reach out purposefully, reach out authentically, but you got to reach out to them, and the approach is got to be clear. It's got to be purposeful. It has to emphasize mutual value. I know this, your inner circle could benefit you, but you got to be also thinking, what's in it for them? Some of your most impactful potential inner circle members are incredibly busy. They're successful. They got a lot going on. Even if they're retired, they're on boards, or they want to spend time with their loved ones. And your demands are a trade-off. So why would they trade time with their family to spend with you? Why would they trade their credibility, their reputation in their industry or chosen field to help you? What's in it for them? Not enough people think about that. So when you approach them with clarity, with purpose, with aligned expectations, with emphasis on that mutual value, mutual benefit, there's still no guarantee of a yes. You help yourself if you get very specific about how the relationship can create value for both parties. So, and by the way, this cannot be monetary. They've already reached success. What a lot of inner circle, and this is a pro tip for you, what a lot of inner circle members look for is an opportunity to create significance. It's an opportunity to meet other like-minded professionals. It's an opportunity to be in conversations they're not in, remain relevant, push their growth. If they have truly a growth mindset has nothing to do with age. So your inner circle wants to be around other people that they can learn from, grow through, access, share their experiences. So the intentionality with which you reach out, that outreach, clarity, purpose, emphasizing mutual benefit, and the specificity with which how the relationship is going to create mutual value. If you've read any of my work, my blogs, you know I'm all about mutual value creation. How can we be better off because we're in a relationship together? This takes it to even a deeper level, more impactful level. Number 5, I said earlier, 10 steps to not just create, but now you got to nurture and sustain it. And 5 on are all about that nurturing and sustaining. Believe it or not, creating half the battle, but the value is going to come from the investments you choose to make in nurturing and sustaining it. I can go buy a plant. For that plant to thrive and make my office look better, healthier, feel good about, has to be nurtured and sustained. You don't water that plant for a week or two, doesn't get sunlight, doesn't get fertilizer, doesn't get pruning and care. It dies and it becomes an eyesore. Who wants to walk into any office and see a dead plant? And yet, a lot of people don't invest proactively in nurturing. This is true. Frontline, 22 years, I've been screaming from a mountaintop to frontline contributors and those people in their 20s to 70-year-old retired executives who know better, should sure as hell know better. And yet they don't think about investing in their biggest asset, which is their portfolio of relationships. So number 5 is really prioritizing those investments in the relationship. What do you mean by prioritizing? Regular, meaningful interactions. We call them in Avenir touch cadence. These are one-on-one conversations. These are shared experiences. These are in a group dynamic, you're going to get some weirdness where people may not want to say what they're thinking, or that's why group emails are less effective than one-on-ones. That's why a lot of times group calls or conference calls or group chats are less, people just are reserved and they don't want to, whereas one-on-ones become invaluable until such time where the group really gets to know. And this is an intimate group. By the way, your inner circle is ideally not 75 people. Ideally, it's 3 or 5 people with a very specific purpose. So prioritizing those regular, consistent, meaningful interactions, not drive-by greeting, not I'll call you from the car. Sometimes that's all you can do. But regular touch cadence is critical. This is what we've built into Avenir. Regular touch cadence. When was the last time we met? When was the last time we exchanged emails or one-on-one connections? And what, in that investment, for a long time, I've called this relational on-ramps. But if you demonstrate a genuine interest in their lives, not just how was your weekend in a transactional way, but how was your weekend with Beth? And Sam, did your son come home? And how Patrick, right? How's he doing? And how's he enjoying being away from home at school? When you demonstrate a genuine interest in their lives and you offer support without, and again, this is the relationship, this is the X factor. Without expecting an immediate return, what it does is it shows it beyond what you say. It demonstrates that you're there for the long term. And inner circles are not transactional. I need you to hear this. Inner circles are transformational. In what you learn, how you show up, that journey together. It is not a destination. It is absolutely a journey. And it's learning from, it's growing through that journey. One of my friends has done 50 M&A deals. They never get easy. They may get easier, but every one of them is a learning opportunity in some shape or form. Mergers and acquisitions are all about risk, all about, right, anticipation, all about your homework and your due diligence and alignment. And it's just so many moving parts. Any of my friends who are in the mergers and acquisitions will tell you this. So someone who has gone through those experiences, someone who, again, forgets more in 5 minutes that I'm going to learn over the next year or 5 years, becomes invaluable as a sounding board. And you investing in that relationship, responsiveness is one of my biggest pet peeves. How do we get back to someone quickly? How do we add value to them with every interaction? So the touch cadence becomes an enabler of that investment. And you have to show up, and you have to show up with intentionality. So if you just joined us, we're talking about 10 steps to creating, nurturing, sustaining your inner circle. Quick recap. Number 1 was define or refine your purpose. 2 is really identify or prioritize, give weight to the key attributes I mentioned in the previous episode. 3, kind of scan, audit your existing network for individuals that might be a good fit based on those attributes. 4, reach out with intentionality. This is all about clarity of your message, the purpose, and emphasizing that mutual benefit. 5, intentionally, strategically, regular basis, prioritizing, investing in the relationship. I love regular, meaningful interactions, one-on-ones. Again, your inner circle is going to be busy, so I don't ever want to outwear my welcome. What I want to make sure is that I'm intentional about why I'm reaching, and it's a regular. I do this with our advisory board. Some, easier than others. Again, the empathy says also they've got a life. They've got things going on. So I don't ever want to outwear my welcome. I don't ever want to become there's professional, polished persistence, and then there's a line, and on the other side of that line is a pest. You don't ever want to cross that line. Professional, right? Polished, persistence, but don't cross that line into a pest. 6, I mentioned earlier in the attributes in the previous one was this idea of trust equity or earned or demonstrated. You have to foster that trust. You also want to make sure that it's done transparently. So when you're open, when you're honest, when you're consistent, when you're thorough in your communication, when you follow through, which is a process, versus follow up, which is a transaction, when you create that truly that psychological safety or that safe environment for vulnerability, for constructive feed forward, that's exactly what you're doing. You're fostering trust. You're fostering that transparent communication. You're fostering people not holding back. I don't need you to tell me I made a mistake 10 months later, a year later. I need you to tell me that now. I'm struggling with this, right? Inner circle shouldn't be your Monday morning quarterbacks. They need to be on the sideline with you. They need to be in that offensive coordinator box looking at the whole field with you. You know those headsets, right? I trust you and what you see from up there that I cannot see from where I'm standing. If I'm the quarterback and I'm trying to run these plays, I cannot see what you see from the sideline. I cannot see what you see from above the stadium. So the trust in you and that communication channel, the headsets they wear. Here's something to think about. The plays that they look at on their tablets and watching what's happening in real time. The calls, the audibles. That trust is mutual. That trust is transparent, and it doesn't happen overnight. You need to, again, foster that. This is number 6. Foster that trust promise to trust equity. The gap is what you do. The gap is how you show up, and you do it transparently. Number 7, boundaries. Boundaries and expectations. I've said this before. I'll say it again. Relationships go bad with misaligned expectations. You want to align on purpose, on those touch cadence, the frequency of interactions, respecting each other's time, We're all busy. So if we schedule something together, canceling it, rescheduling it should be the exception, not the norm. I did that for years. I still do with my coaching work. We cannot say we mutually respect each other's time if I keep scheduling time with you and you either don't show up or forget, oh, sorry, I was on a golf course and that's not really demonstrating aligned values, right? Ensuring that the relationship remains balanced and mutually beneficial. And by the way, I'm in this business and I got to tell you, I hate a particular position I'm in now because I need to go have those really tough conversations because no startup founder needs fake advisors or pseudo advisors. What we need is hands-on. What we all need is regular conversation. If I have to chase you to help me, right, based on the fact you already agreed to help me, we have a problem. And I'm only going to chase you for so long before I cancel our agreement and politely say thank you, but I'm going to move on. So establishing boundaries and expectations. I'm going to add to that, recalibrating boundaries and expectations. I always say, I don't want to outwear my welcome. Have you ever had, I'm sure this doesn't happen in your life, but have you had family come visit or friends come visit and they stay way too long and they start walking around in boxers? That's a clear case that we haven't drawn boundaries. And we need to recalibrate them. So you want to establish boundaries and expectations. I would say you want to recalibrate to make sure that balance, that mutual benefit. If it's one way and one way only, that's problematic. And that's not going to bode well. Number 8, and I'll recap all these at the end, encourage outcome-based collaboration. Very focused on that growth. You have to encourage outcome-based collaboration and that personal and professional growth. So collaboration for the sake of collaboration is a waste of time. We're going to meet. If we don't move this idea forward, if you can't help me overcome these obstacles, this probably is not a good fit. That inner circle is your most intimate, most, right, valuable, prized relationships. You got to create opportunities for outcome-based collaboration. This is the problem we're trying to solve. This is the problem we're solving for. These are the outcomes we're after. Can you help me? If you can't, do you know other people that can help me get there, that are shared with the goals? Who should I talk to? Where should I go? There's an opportunity for Avneer to pursue a market sector where I don't have any experience. In my career, I've never gone after this sector. So I reached out to my network. I'm telling you, I'm practicing what I preach. And I've identified a relationship that'd be instrumental to what we're trying to do with Avneer and could be a great guide in that direction and has the knowledge, has the relationships, can accelerate our ability to get there. It's exactly what I'm looking for. But you got to make sure that, again, the benefit is mutual and that you create opportunities for outcome-based collaboration. Either I'll come see you or you come see me, or let's schedule some quality time to make sure that our goals, our values are aligned and we're focused on this outcome. Otherwise, why are we meeting? You also want to openly exchange ideas. You need to share resources. You got to create support personnel and professional development. Hey, you've never been to the World Economic Forum at Davos. I think this would be really good for you. Come, let's go. This is really the pinnacle of those relationships. You need funding. I know these VCs. Let me introduce you. You need funding. You need support. I know this other CEO. Most people want to help. They just don't know how to help. So your inner circle is as much of a curator, is as much of a coordinator, is as much of, oh, if I'm clear on what you need, I may not be able to provide it, but let me introduce you to 3 other people that may. This afternoon, I have a call with a group of investors, and it came from one of our board members. That's exactly what that inner circle does. What can I do to help you move key boulders, key initiatives forward? So when you encourage outcome-based collaboration, focused on that personal and professional growth, both sides feel really good about this inner circle idea. Number 9, you need a regular cadence to evaluate and adapt how things are going. Once a quarter, once every 6 months, at a minimum once a year. Reflect on the relationship's impact and whether it continues to align with your journey. So here's the fascinating thing that I've learned about relationships, and we're trying to capture this in Avnir as a platform as well. There is a natural cycle to the impact of relationships on those goals. So in an early stage of a startup, you need people that have been there, that have started with ideas, that have started with nothing, and they were able to build. And one way to measure it is 0 to 1 million in revenue. Then the next hurdle is 1 million to 5 million. Next one is 5 to 10. Next one is 10 to 20. Next one is 20 to 50. And each of these phases need different skills, need different relationships. I would submit, need different members of potentially that inner circle, because if you've never started anything, how much value are you really going to be? That's why I said it's got to be aligned with the values, with goals, with objectives, where we're trying to go. So reflecting, making time to intentionally reflect on where the relationship has been and whether, to what extent it continues to align with your goals is really critical. You got to be open to adding new members. We're going to talk about this, or stepping back from less productive members. Again, that's a very high valued real estate. There's only so many seats around that inner circle table. And you can't afford people that just coast. They're just showing up. They're just with zero value add. So this like a portfolio. Really want you to think of a high valued portfolio. Do I need to change my position with some versus others? Do we need to add? I don't know of an inner circle that doesn't need fresh perspective, doesn't need, right? Maybe inner circles have a term limit, right? You're joining my inner circle for the next 3 years or the next year. Here's what I'm asking. Here's what I'm trying to do. And in a year, we're going to reevaluate. Is this still mutually beneficial? Is this still of great value? And as such, you always have some people that you want some continuity, but being open to adding new or stepping back from less productive members is critical. 10, you need to celebrate successes and ideally longevity. So you acknowledge and celebrate milestones, both individual and collective. Look how far we've come. This has been phenomenal. I'm so grateful, right? With a heart of gratitude. I'm so that we've been able to support each other in this journey and really maintaining that long-term commitment to nurturing your inner circle as you grow. That journey from now to next is going to have certain milestones, right? I've now reached this. Avnir has now got funding. Avnir's got team. Avnir's growing. Here are the things we're trying to do with it next. With each of those, not just celebrating those milestones, but also continue to look on the horizon. Again, this is growth through that journey, not a destination. This is a growth through how do I bring others along with me? How do we grow together? So if you've joined us late, this is episode 3 of the Inner Circle live stream podcast. We've been talking a lot about 10 steps to creating, not just creating your inner circle, but also nurturing and sustaining them. You can learn more, avnir.com/podcast. Forum.avnir.com is our private online community where there's an inner circle group, and I post unique content, resources, events around this. So here's the 10 steps. Define or refine your purpose. Make sure you're crystal clear on why you need an inner circle and the goals that will support it. Number 2, I identified the key attributes last time. I would say, go back and recalibrate them or realign them or repurpose them and assign them weights, because they're not all created equal. Based on your values, really add weights to those key attributes. 3, audit your existing network for who could be a viable potential member. Again, this isn't 50-person anything. This is 3 to 5 people. This is your personal board of directors. This is your personal board of advisors. These are the people that will accelerate your journey from now to next. So audit your existing network. Your reach out to them has got to be intentional, with clarity, with purpose, really emphasizing mutual benefit, mutual value. If those were really steps to create it, now becomes nurturing and sustaining it, which is investing in the relationship. Again, we've created touch cadence. We talk about prioritizing regular, meaningful interactions. 5, again, investing in that relationship also means you got to genuinely show an interest in their lives and offering support without an immediate return, without expecting anything in return. 6, you got to foster the gap between a trust promise and a trust equity. And you ideally are doing that through transparency. Tom, here's what I need from you. Tom, here's how I can support you. 7, you got to establish boundaries, guardrails, and expectations. I've said relationships go bad with misaligned expectations. No founder needs a pseudo or fake advisor. We need hands-on. We need people that have been there, done it, and can help me avoid the potholes that I'm headed for. So foster that gap between a trust promise and a trust equity that's felt, that's earned. Make sure you do that transparently. 7, establish boundaries and expectations. Align, again, the purpose, the frequency of interactions, respecting each other's time, bandwidth, they're busy, and ensure that the relationship remains balanced and mutually beneficial. If it gets out of whack, you let it get out of whack and don't realign it. It's gonna derail. 8, encourage outcome-based collaboration. Outcome-based should be focused on your goals, on the personal, professional goals and growth that you mentioned earlier. So make sure that collaboration is aligned and there are shared goals there. 9, regularly evaluate, reevaluate, and adapt. So you got to, on a regular basis, reflect on the relationship's impact. Again, just as a quick reminder, this is another one of those neurisms. You need output plus outcome plus impact to create value. You need output is a report. Outcome is the insight from that report. Impact is the actions we take from the insight from that report to create value. Don't confuse. People use those things interchange. Hey, look at my report. How valuable is that? Well, it really isn't. It's important, but the report is an output. We also need outcome, the insights, and the actions that create the impact to create value. So regularly evaluating, reevaluating, adapting, being open. This is not the 10 Commandments. The members of this inner circle, their names are not etched in stone. It should be fluid. It should be not by the direction of the wind, but maybe it does need term limits. Maybe it does need, hey, for the next year, I'd love for you to be in my inner circle. Here's what I'm after. Let's reevaluate it and renew it at the end of the year if we both mutually believe it makes sense. Last but not least, number 10, you got to celebrate that success, the small wins along the way, and really take a long-term commitment, long-term view of this. So I hope this has been useful to you. This episode is focused on, again, the 10 steps to creating, nurturing, sustaining your inner circle. I wanted to run several episodes where I kind of establish a solid foundation. You can always go back and listen to. In the coming weeks, I'm going to start introducing guests, executives, where I interviewed them about their inner circle. And, I asked them for either examples without naming names. Tell me about that person. How did you meet them? And why are they in your inner circle? And how, what are the rules of engagement? What are the expectations? How do they bolster your success? How does this mutually valuable? So all the things I'm sharing with you, I'm going to ask of executives, and I hope you'll join us. I hope you'll jump in. We're live every Tuesday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. We also repurpose this as a podcast and share it wherever you consume podcasts. My name is David Noor. This is the Inner Circle podcast or live stream. I hope this has been of value to you, and I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday for episode 4. Episode 4 is coming up, and we're going to talk about the 5 best practices to become a member of someone else's inner circle. So 5 best to become is the next episode 4, and I'll see you soon. Thanks, everybody. All the best. Bye-bye.